Angie.
Hey. I'm going to get my gallery view up. Oh, there we go. Now I see you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We have a sunny day and then we're getting pounded.
Yeah, wait, so you're,
I'm in Fort Bragg, so Mendocino.
oh yeah.
It's
My
bad.
uncle just sent me a text from Tahoe with it's just crazy up there right now.
It's nuts. It has snowed here, I think 5 times already this year, which is very strange. And like yesterday, they closed the roads ahead of time because they knew it was going to snow last night. And it doesn't snow in Mendocino normally.
Yeah, 5 times. When's the last time it snowed?
10 years ago, at least, out on the
And
coast.
probably one fluke
Yeah,
storm.
it's been
Yeah.
very, very strange. I couldn't get home from the airport the other night because the roads were closed because of snow. It's like, really? Where do I live?
Right. It's not like you live in the mountains, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people that do. It's like the mountains have become year-round danger in California. I mean, and I don't really know a single person who's not at least somewhat affected by all this.
Yeah. I have a friend in Tahoe who they had to snow blow their roof because their roof was so heavy with snow.
Yeah.
But the good thing is they could just walk on with the snow blower because the snow around their house was the same height as the house.
Yeah. My uncle has a human-sized icicle dripping
Oh,
down
wow.
from his roof right now. And yeah, I've been hearing about explosions, homes that the gas is getting trapped and they're exploding.
Yeah. It's
so those of you, if anybody's not in California, that's what we're talking about. How crazy it's been. So I'm seeing more people stream in. We were just kind of chatting amongst ourselves. I don't know that we'll get Shasta today, because she's in Oklahoma doing some other, I don't know, did anybody catch her when she did her White House? Yeah.
pretty fancy.
Yeah, she was a big deal. So yeah, it's been lots of, I mean, man, it's just relentless right now. The snow is happening almost as much as it seems tribal climate work is just like really center stage around the country. So very exciting.
Well, and for the tribes up here on the coast, they're hugely impacted because they also are not used to this level of snow. So protecting the elders and being able to have access is huge.
I bet there's a lot of adaptation plans out there that didn't include all the snow issue, and maybe we'll need to. Yeah. Well, since we're a smallish group for now, why don't we actually just go ahead? We'll remind ourselves who we are, what we do, and then we'll do introductions all around, and so everybody gets to know each other. Hopefully, we get a few more folks in because we have a nice speaker today. James, thank you so much for joining us. I'll introduce you in just a minute. So we get together now every other month, and our purpose has been to connect national health and climate data experts and invite folks from around the country to exchange knowledge on priority tribal adaptation and resilience data needs, share tools, practices, ideas, and lessons learned from the field, and explore opportunities to develop and scale up solutions to address tribal resilience data needs. And typically we talk about, vulnerability data, but more and more we're talking about data that might be used after a vulnerability assessment, real-time data, things that can actually build resilience in real time. So that's, we had a meeting last month. We talked a little bit about some priorities and things we want to focus on this year. It was a good discussion. So that's part of the reason why we moved to every other month. And but we like this format. We like bringing folks together, connecting you all, helping each other stay abreast of all the different work and initiatives and opportunities around the country. And we like bringing together solutions and helping to discuss them and keeping track of opportunities to influence some of these data solutions and these processes out there to the extent that we can. So today, I didn't change our agenda, but really what we're going to do today is our same intro. We'll go through our member roundtable sort of announcements. I'm hoping folks brought some stuff for us. And then we're really honored to be joined now today by James Rattling Leaf, and he's joining us from one of the casts. So I'll introduce him more in just a moment, but why don't we go ahead, since we have a small group, like I said, let's introduce ourselves. We haven't done that in a little while. So obviously I'm Angie Hacker. It's nice to see you all with Prosper Sustainably, and here representing the Tribal Climate Health Project, and residing out here in California on Chumash lands. Lori, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Lori Montserrat. I work with the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, which we call OEHA, which is part of Cal EPA, and I'm coming from you up in Mendocino County. I work with tribes documenting the impacts of climate change.
Thanks, Lori. How about you, Alex?
Hi everyone, I'm Alex Nikolai, and I'm the Climate and Policy Coordinator at the Public Health Alliance of Southern California, and I reside in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'll pass it to my colleague Colleen.
Yeah, hi, my name is Colleen Budenreiter, they, them pronouns. I'm the Climate Change and Health Data Lead at the Public Health Alliance of Southern California, and based in Ohlone lands in Berkeley. I believe Helen was attending these calls up till now, but I think since I'm working on more climate data now, I think we decided to switch me out for Helen. So I'm happy to be a part of these conversations, and looking forward to it.
Same. Thanks for joining. Doug, it's so nice to see you. Just introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. The only reason I'm here today is to make sure that James does the right thing. People have hired me to track him down and watch what he says. He's notorious. No,
for some trouble.
no. He and I go back a ways. So I saw that he was going to be on the call, and I have to get off at 1:30, but he's going to be good. And he's sort of working with a portion of NOAA, who I sort of represent here. I'm in Missouri. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, but my region is the north central part of the U.S., basically Rockies to Great Lakes. So there's a lot of tribes, there's a lot of tribal colleges, and a lot of other folks that we can interface with and do. I'm a regional climate service director for that region, and there's 6 of us across the country. If anybody ever has any questions about data or anything else from a sort of physical science side, feel free to ask any day, anytime. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Doug. Letting some other folks in. Hey, Isabel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Isabel Corcos, and I'm with the County of San Diego Public Health Services in the Community Health Statistics Unit, and I do work on a number of, well, pretty much anything. I like to tell people I'm a free-range epidemiologist, but I am involved with both tribal health and climate change issues. And do you want me to give my update now or later?
Let's do that in just a minute.
Okay, all right. So that's where I'm in San Diego County, and quite happy to be there. I used to be in Michigan, so now I'm grateful to be in San Diego County.
The last part of California not getting snowed on.
It only happened once in my backyard that we've had snow.
Oh, wow.
And it was so memorable back then, but it lasted maybe 20 minutes. It was very exciting.
Well, James, let's hear from you. I just want to say thanks again for being here. And it was actually Shasta. I think you all have been talking, and she's the one that recommended we bring you in generally for these meetings. And then you were nice enough to say you could share your work today. So thank you for doing that. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. And I think it's still morning there in California, right? Good morning to you. I'm in the Mountain Time Zone. I'm in Rapid City, South Dakota. I am a consultant. I've been consulting since 2008 on that interface between traditional knowledge and Western science. I've been involved in many really cool projects, and so today I find myself working with with, as Doug said, my good friend Doug Clupp said, and I'm not going to respond to his jabs at me at this point. I'll get him later. No Indian, and us Indians, we have ways of getting government guys. So don't worry, Doug. Your time is coming. Well, I've known since Doug says 2008. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or bad thing, but no judgment. But I, as a consultant, I get to work on interesting things, and the latest thing is I have a travel advisory role for NOAA NITIS, the National Integrated Drought Information System, and so we're kind of gearing up to look at some future IRA funds that's coming to NOAA, and thinking about how we best support tribes across the country, at least in the West, on utilizing those IRA funds to build travel drought resilience. Also work with the NC CAS. We're just doing a 5-year review right now this week. So I'm going to speak here in about an hour on the work I'm doing there. So I work with the CAS about 5 years now, also working on travel engagement, a little bit with traditional ecological knowledge. And then also work with my Joan tribe, the Rosewood Sioux tribe. So I'm Lakota, and we're building a whole new climate center with BIA Climate Resilience Implementation Fund. So it's a 3-year project, about $2 million. So this is really the first effort of our tribe to really think about climate data, climate science, and traditional knowledge in terms of resource management. So everything that I'm sure we're going to talk about today, or what you talk about, is important to us in terms of how we learn from other tribes around the country doing this kind of work. So anyway, on my fun and in my fun times, I just got elected to the ESA, Ecological America's Governing Board. So we'll start that work. I'll start that work in August of this year. And so you're all welcome to attend ESA if you're ecologists in Portland, Oregon in August. So you're welcome, and also join ESA and join the TEK section. We'd love to have you be part of that work. So I'll stop there.
Well, great. So yeah, we're going to carve out a whole chunk just to hear more about all of that work, because it sounds really interesting, and just get to know you better, because I actually think there's probably lots of ways to collaborate. And hopefully Shasta's told you a little bit about the Tribal Climate Health Project and what they're leading there at Paula. No. Okay. Well, I'll provide a little context of that as well today. And then we also were joined by Darian. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Darian Grisso. I am also from the County of San Diego. Isabel invited me to join today. And I'm an epidemiologist.
Perfect. Well, great, everybody. So we'll go ahead and go to our member announcements, and then we'll go back to James. I have a few things to share, but I always like to leave it open first. And so this is an opportunity for anybody on the call to just share anything that's relevant. So we're always talking about tribes, climate change, health, and data. So if you have anything relevant that you want to share, and feel free to take a couple of minutes to share something relevant happening in your work. If you need a little feedback on anything, like, this is a good place. It's a sounding board for you if you need it. Also, let me share here too, before anybody volunteers, that one of the things we want to do this year is just keep our eyes out for formal or informal opportunities for comment and advising. So if we know of agencies out there that are looking, agencies or other universities, basically data solution providers out there that are doing some work and might have a way for us to provide, we know, to them, we're just keeping our eye out for those kinds of opportunities. So sometimes they're a formal RFI, sometimes they're just, there's a meeting coming up or a workshop or a person who's working on something, and we can share what we know. Okay, so who's got an announcement?
I have an announcement, so I'll announce. Yeah, this is something that we could maybe present at another meeting, but we are getting ready to, in our unit, publish out an update to our tribal health data. We have a tribal health brief, which will contain, well, it does contain, it's just not publicly available yet, data on tribal health and well-being in the from the California Health Interview Survey, but also data on morbidity and mortality from the state licensed hospitals and facilities in San Diego County, not Indian Health Services, but the local ones. And that's where we'll have hospitalization, ED discharge, and death rates. for a 5-year aggregated data set. And there will be, in addition to the brief where we highlight key findings, there will also be a data dashboard that will be publicly available. And that should go up really soon.
Okay, well, we should totally have you showcase that at a meeting coming up. We'd love to see some of the new data sets that you've got available. And
That's
we
great.
always like having you here because we get to see a window into what a very thoughtful local jurisdiction is doing to try to provide data to its community, including tribes.
That'd be great, because I'd like to have Darian, who worked on it, and Hannah Marquez, who's not here today, but would like to present maybe at your next meeting if you could squeeze us in. That'd be great.
Yeah, maybe. I just got confirmation from Patricia over at OPR that they've got so many irons in the fire right now that she's going to share a bunch of it and bring in some of her data science folks.
Ooh.
So that's California Climate Adaptation, kind of the lead agency on a lot of statewide stuff. So we're going to hear from her next time. If I could, let me think about if I can squeeze in then. Otherwise, it's going to be July.
Months out, yeah. That's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It'll be there. It will be there.
Okay, sounds good. Who else? Doug, do you want to give us like any kind of insight into what's going on, the craziness at the federal level with all the new investments, and just how, if there's any opportunity, like what's going on in the climate service space when it comes to data? Do you have a ear on the ground to that?
It's a bit overwhelming, to be honest with you, and it's hard. And you know, I've heard it from the tribes as well that it's overwhelming, the amount of attention and funding. We're going to have a tough time. I know it sounds weird, but we're going to have a tough time spending the amount of money and the amount of time that we have to spend it for a lot of reasons. So there will be a lot of opportunities, and it's a great time to look for those RFPs. If you have grant writers and stuff, get them ready. I would say, you know, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be NOAA, but there's a lot of CORE and Bureau of Rec and other programs that may interest this group, may sort of be tangential to the health side of the house. And I'm not aware of what CDC is doing, for example, and or Indian Health Services or anybody like that who is getting money. That's out of my pay band. But there will be a lot of opportunities, potentially jobs. Now's the time to have all your, if you will, shovel-ready projects ready to go. Anything and everything. It won't last forever.
I know, that's been my message. 2023, this is the year. If you know a grant writer, get them now, because everything's been enacted.
I'd say over the next few years, unless really bad things happen, that money is going to be available, and the feds are going to be, like I said, feds are going to be hard pressed to spend it. So
yeah.
Looking for opportunities. I don't have anything in particular that would be of interest to this group. I come in to learn, really.
Yep. You know, I just got to kind of interview Marissa McGinnis. She's the director of climate adaptation at the White House. So I just got to do that last Friday. And she works with our friend, Carrie Cassera, right? Doug, I think that's the right person. She's from NOAA. Also, she's come and presented to us. And now she's gotten, I don't know if it's a promotion, but she's working at this federal level, helping all the federal agencies, all the agencies move into creating adaptation plans. So it's just interesting to see how that's going to flow down, create opportunities for better data for tribes, or just better opportunity for tribes. So we're keeping our eyes out on all of that.
Let me just say one more thing. My good friend James Rattling-Leaf will remember the name of the NOAA person who is an appointee, who is Nez Pierce, who you may want to invite sometime to this to chat with you all, because he's pretty high level, and well, he's a tribal member and has some pull in NOAA, so it might be decent to invite him sometime. What's his name, James? I can look it up. Sorry, I'm forgetting.
It's Doug. It's Zach Penny.
Zach, yeah, Zach Penny.
You should know that, Doug.
Well, of course I should. I should know a lot of things. I'm getting old.
Okay, well, that's a great tip. We always like to branch out a bit. Anyone else? I have a couple of slides to show just on other updates. Okay. I just want to highlight, it sounds like South Central Climate Adaptation Science Center is really on fire with a lot of their activities right now. So there's a few events coming up that I actually just wanted to share with the group. There's an introduction to using climate modeling for forest management coming up later this month. I think these are all, most of these, 2 of 3 of these I think are web-based. There is also a wildland fire, the future of fire under a changing climate. So that's March 30th. And there's also one of their own, they're doing a training. It's very similar to something Tribal Climate Health Project would do, but we're buddies with them. So we're happy. So the Tribal Climate and Health Infrastructure Vulnerability Workshop. So that's happening May 18th and 19th. I think registration's already open. So lots of opportunities for, you know, it's right up our alley, just learning, helping tribes understand their tribal, so their climate vulnerabilities or climate threats. That's what all of this sounds like, and they're working pretty hard at that. I wanted to share this just because of all the IRA funds right now, the ones that are, you know, some that are super hot right now are coming out of the EPA, some brand new programs, and they're targeting tribes in interesting ways. So a few new programs are out, and just want to make sure this group is sort of aware. And I'm actually interested, I don't know, Lori, if you've heard anything at the state level, but states are eligible for these, and it's encouraging, like a lot of the IRA dollars are, and sort of, it's like forced partnership in a good way. It's encouraging a lot of partnership between states, territories, tribes, local governments, CBOs. So I'd be interested to see if any of your states are sort of taking the lead on trying to apply for this, and how tribes might really, if this would be the right time to get involved. And I bring it up because a lot of it's talking, some of it's you know, more on the mitigation side, greenhouse gas emission reductions, harmful air pollution. But for example, this one, the Environmental Justice Government to Government program, you know, I think it would have a lot to say about climate resilience, develop solutions to environmental or public health issues at a community level. Same over here, environmental and climate justice block programs. I mean, there's a lot of money going out here. So, and here we're talking specifically about climate and health risk, climate resilience, facilitating state and federal engagement. This one's really, I don't know, I'm excited about this one. So just wanted to make sure it's on everybody's radar. You guys at the Public Health Alliance, and you would be, I don't know, keep that on your radar too. I kind of feel like we should get together a California meeting to talk about this.
I think, yeah, that would be great, to be honest. And we're looking into, I think, 3 of the 4 funding opportunities, but are still in pretty like introductory stages on figuring out our place and our health jurisdictions as well.
Right, not always clear. Are you guys considered, would you be considered a CBO? I mean, I know you're a nonprofit, not exactly a CBO.
Not really. So yeah, we fall into more the nonprofit eligibility.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you need some partners on something like that. I can just see, you know, CDPH, OPR, Lori, you know, there's a lot of folks in our California network here that I think got our heads around this early enough. We probably could come up with something really interesting that actually really meaningfully included tribes.
Yeah, I think we would love that. We've been talking through trying to involve tribes more, and just traditional ecological knowledge in general. And some of our jurisdictions are probably pretty good on it, and others are a little more in learning stages. So I think a little more collaboration going forward would be good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got my wheels are turning. Let me share this next thing, which is just a little update on what we're doing with the Tribal Climate Health Project. And James, for your benefit, you know, the Tribal Climate Health Project's been going for about 7 years. We're federally funded. We serve the entire country, so all tribes throughout the country. And the goal of it has always been to build capacity to prepare for the impacts of climate change, with a large focus on health. So health and well-being, and when we talk about that, we're talking about cultural, spiritual health, socioeconomic health, sort of more holistic view of health than sort of the Western view. And so we've been at this a while, and this is one of the next things we're going to be working on. So this group here came out of our data development efforts, where we have been trying to collect and disseminate what we think are some of the best data solutions to provide access to tribes that are trying to understand their vulnerabilities, where they're going out sometimes just overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data sets that are out there, or needing assistance in interpreting them, or figuring out which ones are the best or most meaningful, and then tying those, bringing those together with their own traditional knowledges and data. And so this is the next iteration. So this is where we're headed next as a group, is a project that we were funded for called Threading Through California Intertribal Resilience Data Development Project. What it really means is we're going to scale up. We've had a couple projects where we focused on San Diego, then Southern California. Now we're trying to scale up to a statewide model where we're going to work with some tribes from around different parts of the state, Northern California probably, to better understand what their needs are when it comes to tribal resilience data, their vulnerability data gaps, what's the most valuable, and then we also want to find out from them some key best practices. What are their most useful practices when it comes to determining and finding the best adaptation strategies? So we're going to try to build out our easy data tool a bit more, which includes strategies and helps folks trying to plan the initial stages of what an adaptation plan would be like if it was actionable. So that's what we're working on next. And I bring it up here because, you know, I'm interested in if folks have recommendations for tribes, and primarily in like Northern California, because my network's not as good up there, that might be interested in really what will result in free consulting, where we're going to collect a whole bunch of data for them, inclusive of health data. And actually, you guys over at the Public Health Alliance, this might be fun to work with you on, to kind of test your model and see how much data we can pull out there for these tribes that end up participating. It'll all be voluntary. All they have to do in return is just to provide us feedback. Was this useful? What else do you need? And then the more new part of this is we're going to be doing a statewide questionnaire to try to better understand what these data gaps are from across the state. And so more to come, I guess, on that. I just was interested if anybody knew of sort of any aligned data gap efforts or examples that we should probably know about as we get going out here. And I actually think Patricia over at OPR might have some really aligned activities. Oh, Lori, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Patricia, but also if you need any help with this looks amazing.
It's
So,
gonna be
and this is the piece that's missing, is the like provide the consultants to step somebody through the easy tool. This is brilliant. Yeah. Thank you for doing this.
Totally. Yeah, this will be the third time we've taken like a group of 5 tribes, done the data grabbing for them, and then handed it over to them. Said, okay, what else do you need? And then we actually try to go out. So then part of what this is an under component to here is we actually get to put in more clearly how much we want to work with California agencies to try to pull out more data. So when we learn that there's a lack of data, for example, we keep talking about how little data we have around water security. So you can maybe allow us to start diving into that a little bit more. And so just, you know, a heads up, I mean, Laura, obviously you'll be involved, and just we're looking at having more, formalizing our engagement with California agencies a bit more, and just offering ourselves up to sit on advisory groups and things like that, which I know Shasta's already doing a bunch of that. So, and then we get to continue these.
Is it, I was gonna say, for the Public Health Alliance is looking into rural data gaps, or will be doing that. We got funding to do that, and part of that is looking at tribal data gaps. So we might be interested in actually participating with you guys on this.
Fun. I think I need to get a little steering committee together of some key folks that I think will help inform some of this. Okay, wonderful. I would really love to work with you on this. Thank you. And then the last thing I'll bring this back to us at some point. Tribal Climate Health Project is doing a website refresh. One of the things we're doing is trying to grab all the stuff we built over the last 7 years and put it in a web format that actually is more usable than ours is now. And so what the My Adaptation Pathway will be a sequential program of training. So it's like a capacity building through a sequential set of courses put in a platform called LearnDash, so folks will be able to sort of progress through all of our materials in a logical way and keep track of what they've learned and where the resources exist. So this is sort of the outline of it. And I bring it up only to see if anybody out here is like interested in something like this, that they'd be willing to even review our outline with all of our resources, and also review. We're going to plug in course 1 over the next week into LearnDash, and we want to have folks kind of look at it and just tell us, does this make sense and how can we improve? So I see nodding. Lori, are you game for something like that?
Totally. I just DM'd you. I have a freakish amount of web experience. I'll be happy to do that. Look at wireframes or anything else you need.
Cool. Thank you, Lori. All right. And if anybody else has a freakish interest, I'd be happy to have more eyes on this before we go live. Okay, that's it. So now I get to hand it over to James. James, thank you again so much for agreeing to speak to us. And you mentioned all sorts of interesting things that you are working on. And I just would welcome you to tell us more details. And then we'll have a chance to hopefully ask you a little bit of questions at the end.
Great. Well, thank you again. Again, Shasta gone. I want to call her Gogan, but she said don't call her that.
Yeah.
If you get, I try to bring a sense of humor. My wife says I'm not very funny, but you know, I saw Shasta at the National Tribal Historic Preservation Office meeting in Asheville, North Carolina here a couple of weeks ago, and that's the first time I met her in person. And I've known her before. I worked with her a little bit before on climate work, and she asked me to speak at some of her events in California. But what's happened to me lately was I agreed to serve as a travel advisor to the NOAA program, and in that work, we were getting to talk about having our first tribal focus gathering this year. And so in doing that planning work, we wanted to invite key tribal leaders around the country, at least from the West. Again, I keep saying the country, but from the West, West America. And I don't have a lot of experience or context in California or that area. And so I've met Shasta, and I knew her a little bit before, and she kind of knew me and my work. And so we talked a little bit. I know she was super busy at Asheville, but we talked a little bit, and also on the phone here, that we should be willing to serve in a planning capacity for us to host our first meeting. And so we're thinking about having this meeting in September on the Flathead Indian Reservation in Montana. We're still working out the details yet, but that's just a placeholder, if you will. But again, the goal is to really think about how do we use this additional funding that's coming to the NOAA program through IRA to really support tribes in developing and continue developing their resilience to drought. And so we're hoping that we get cool and thoughtful leaders to come with us and want to work with us, and from the tribes or tribal partners or allies to do that work with us. And so that first meeting will be important. And we want to get this meeting done well. And so that we can identify some of those key priorities, these key funding opportunities, and how we might design something with this IRA funding. And I think we want to look at, obviously, data. I put it in the chat, I think this really cool data summit that's going to happen in Phoenix, Arizona, at Arizona State University. It's a tribally focused data sovereignty, data education, AI as well. And I'm going to attend that. But again, it's this idea about, as your group talks about, is the role of data in tribal decision-making, tribal governance. So I think there are a number of us, right, are all thinking about the importance of data and how tribes use data for their decision-making, whether it's water, whether it's land, now that you're doing health or even wellness, spiritual aspect of it. So I think those are all important. Those of us, again, that work in this space as consultants, we get to be part of some pretty interesting things, and we get to kind of move back and forth in and out of projects and partnerships so that, we can all learn, but also we can also do. And so I think that this work with NOAA and drought, I know California, I've been watching the news this morning. I don't know how many feet of snow you're getting here. New feet of snow coming, but it's incredible, right? I mean, I'm as an older person in my life, I've never really witnessed or seen or learned or heard about anything like this in my life. So obviously something's happening in our climate and our world, and we know that tribal voices are important. They need to be heard, but also we need to do something. And I think I'm hearing from both tribes across the country And I get to work with tribes across the country on a number of different things related to climate. That they're saying that, you know, these IRA funds and other funds are coming by the government to us. Though we're not ready, we still have to push through and take advantage of these opportunities. So like you, I am working on a number of different things to utilize this new funding, support tribes and their capacity to use the money well, but also take advantage of this time because it may not come. It may not come. It may come and keep going, but it may not. And so my advice to tribes is let's figure out how we can start. We can do something what we have, what we can, work with partners and allies. And that's the things I do as well is I help build partnership between tribes, the tribal colleges and universities. So I was just in Albuquerque, New Mexico this past few days at AHEC, American Indian Higher Education Consortium. And so we're also wanting to work with tribal colleges in terms of preparing the next generation of data scientists. So we had a great, we call it Innovation Summit we had there with a number of other partners like NASA, like my university, University of Colorado Boulder, and others who are really, I think they're committed to working with tribal colleges and working with tribal college students in a way that tribal college students need to be worked with. So I know that world because I come from that world. I have a degree from a tribal college in South Dakota and also worked for Central Michigan University for 8 years in helping build a geospatial program way before you guys are probably even born. But in any event, I'm still here and I'm here to share that with you all. And I know Shasta is going to be, I invited her to be part of our planning team for this first go around, for this first workshop. So I know she knows a lot of people in California and around the country. I think she'll be great for our team and also understanding how we work with tribes in California, which is one of our good objectives. So as far as other things, I'll just share with you, I have a great interest in working with traditional ecological knowledge. I mentioned that some of my other work, I work with ESA. We're planning, I think we got 10 symposia, abstract, and programs accepted by ESA this coming year. So those people are interested in how we use TEK, speaking from the tribes themselves, from tribal scholars themselves, from tribal practitioners themselves. We're going to be gathering in Portland, Oregon this year and sharing that and sharing it with the audience. And so I encourage you to join ESA. I don't have to say that, even though I'm coming on the board. I won't get no extra money if I sign you guys up. There's nothing like that. But I think what we're seeing maybe in these science organizations is maybe a step in transformation, a step in organizationally, beginning to approach TEK and the people that hold TEK in better ways. And so guys like me, women like me, are coming into positions of influence, maybe like become part of the board. And I'll learn how it's going to go, how it's going to be there when I get in it. But for right now, we're hopeful, we're positive that Western science is beginning to take a new look at TEK in more respectful ways, and I would say even more responsible ways than maybe ever before. And it's really led by tribal leaders, practitioners, and our allies. We're not doing this by ourselves, and which I'm encouraged by, because we can't do it by ourselves as tribal people. So we have an important role and place we have to be at the table. So data is important to us, right? How we use data sovereignty. That's why that summit, I think that's happening next month, is important because we need our best thinking on this. We don't want to cause harm to tribal nations when it comes to data. And you know that story from the past. And so we get that every time I talk about data with tribes, they say, remember when, you remember when. So we don't want to repeat those things, right? We want to do a better job by that. And so we look at climate data, we look at tribal data, we look at TEK, we look at those kind of data agreements in place, those MOUs in place that we need to strengthen and allow tribal codes, tribal law, if you will, tribal courts to be part of all that. And I think we're going to talk about that in Phoenix later this month on this cool summit. So I think I would encourage you again to think about what I've shared with you in terms of the tribal drought work. Maybe even come to Montana if you can. I'd love to have a session on health and epidemiology and data as well. I think that's important for drought work and drought planning, drought assessment, drought vulnerability. I'll tell you one story, then I'll stop for questions or concerns or heartburn. So when we were doing the 2016, we were doing the drought vulnerability assessment on Rosebud, my tribe. And, that was the first time I've ever been part of anything like that. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what it was in the beginning, but we learned. We worked with the National Drought Information Center at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. They were great to work with. So a man named Cody was our lead person on this. And so he'd done all those things before, but in different community, but not with tribes so much. So it was us, and we worked with them. And so we had questionnaires, we had talking circles, we had small group work, and we had community meetings on Rosebud. And we heard a lot of different things, right? We heard a lot of cultural things, cultural resources, and those sort of things about what's happening on the ground, what they're seeing. And we documented that best way we can. But one thing that came up that I never would have considered was the role of returning veterans at the time from Desert Storm. And as you know, tribal people, tribal nations, we volunteer for military service, the highest of any group in America per capita. That's us. And so we were hearing stories from veterans who live on Rosebud. We're talking about the impact of the heat. So if you understand tribal housing and the lack of good tribal housing, that's an issue for us yet. Some of the even larger reservations in northern and south central, north central America. So we still have housing issues yet, infrastructure and all that's so real. So we had these veterans coming back, and what was happening was when they were home, they were being triggered by the heat. And we never ever thought that would be part of our vulnerability assessment, but really understanding again the whole aspect of this vulnerability assessment, the wellness part, the spirituality part, and even supporting our veterans. And so you may know that already in your work, but I didn't know that. And I think that's part of what we're trying to do through this group and other groups, is to share our practices, share our findings, and share what we can do together. And so that's always been my modus operandi, is working with people like your group, finding ways that we can work together, and then do the work, and then evaluate it, right? How well did we do? And then share those results with other people who might be interested. So all these things to say, I'm glad that Shasta brought me in here to your conversation here. You kind of know who I am. We don't have anything published yet as far as this new work with NIDUS, but as soon as we get ready, we'll definitely put you, if you're willing, put you on the email listserv that we're going to build. We're going to have a series of pre-workshop webinars as well. And so those who are interested, we're going to prepare you for the workshop, because we want to make this a working workshop, meaning that we're not just going to sit and talk to you, but we're going to actually put you to work and put those who come to work to help us identify those key priority areas that we need to focus on, that we need to resource, and we get to put together an implementation plan to do that work. So anyway, I'll stop there. The conference is I put it, it's in the chat there, that link. It's May 31st. So I'll stop there, Angie, and thank you.
Thank you, James. You're a total kindred spirit, and you should definitely come back, because I just love it when I hear people talking about, sharing what works, finding it, sharing it, and making sure we can do more of it. So it sounds like that's what you like to do as well. That's what we like to do. So I wondered, maybe it would be interesting, if you don't mind, hearing a little more, just what are these needs from your neck of the woods, in the north central part of the country, the tribes that you work with. What are the big needs, and then how are you addressing them? Say, like, take water, for example. What are the big needs, and in terms of data, how do you solve it?
Well, one thing that we're doing is that we got this new climate center proposal funded by the BIA climate implementation project. And for us, it's been funding, really was the first part of our equation, is how do we adequately fund an initiative that people would get excited about at the local level, would want to be involved in, that's actually can make a difference. That's number one. We had to cast vision to our tribe and to our leadership that why are we doing this? They've heard about climate change and all this stuff, but there's a lot of stuff out there. But what does it really mean for the tribe? And so our vulnerability assessment work was okay. Our drought climate plan was okay. And what I mean by that is, a core group of the tribe participated, understands, but for the majority of the tribe, we don't know. We don't know how much they care about climate and how it's impacting their lives. But we know that, for instance, here in South Dakota, we had those big snowstorms like you had. And when those snowstorms hit here, it closed everything down. It closed the roads, the transportation, and then it started impacting energy, electricity. And so you know that we're one of some of the still one of some of the poorest places in America, you know, that people don't really have resilience to those things. So when the power went out, you know, people were cold. They didn't have wood stoves as a backup, so you know they suffered. Those that were sick, that were very vulnerable, you know, there was impact on them in terms of if they are diabetic, you know, they couldn't get to the doctor to do their dialysis, for instance. There was nobody to take them in and take them out. Then there was food. Because of our rural nature where we're at, you know, food couldn't come in. And so people were beginning to starve and have those kind of stresses on their lives, you know, and then, so all those things compounded. And so what we did was we tried not to say that, you know, we told you so, because that doesn't help. But we did say to our leadership that these hazards like this are going to be more frequent and going to be more intense. And we're experiencing something like that right now. So how ready are we to respond again in the future? We had to have the state of South Dakota really come in with the National Guard to actually make a difference. And so can we have our own workforce, if you will, our own National Guard, our own tribal National Guard with equipment, with expertise and knowledge, experience to take care of ourselves that way. We know it's got to be holistic in a way, right? Our approach to data and how we use it. We still don't have great collaboration among ourselves within the tribe. We don't have great coordination among the tribe about how we share data and how we use that data, how it's usable to our decision makers at their community. So one of the things that we're going to do with our center is to do an assessment, is to really understand again how these programs, and I think we have over 50 programs, tribal programs right now, multi-million dollars coming into the tribe right now from federal government. But how well are they working together around the role of data, or data infrastructure, if you will, and how is that being used, how is that be protected and archived and things like that. So we'll do that again. And then finally, I think we'll
an assessment of how, like, the status of the relationships and the data coordination.
Right. And then I think the other part that I think that's hopeful to us on Rosebud is that we have a $45 million federal grant to build a broadband infrastructure on our tribe, covering 5 counties. And it'll all be state-of-the-art wireless internet technology, as I understand it. So we're going to have these, I think we're 17 to 20 towers are going to go up on our tribal lands. Tribe's going to have their own internet service provider business. We're going to figure out a model to help support tribal households to get access to broadband technology. So with that said, I think that gives us hope and encouragement that whatever we build in terms of a digital economy, a digital infrastructure, a digital data system, there's going to be things in place that we can actually do it for one tribe, that is, not all, with one tribe. And so we're excited about that. We have 5 years in this plan to do this work. And so that's sort of the first step that we're doing, trying to come together, figure out how we can do that work together, put some accountabilities into that, put some structure in terms of leadership. How do we communicate that? That's the other part of this work too, is how do we communicate progress? How do we share that story, if you will, with partners that want to come in and maybe want to sustain it, like a business, like a Google or something like that, would want to hire our people. Since we have this new broadband now, people can work at home now, and they can do data science work, if you will, and still have a good career, not just a job, a career. So there's a lot of thinking here, still pretty broad right now. Haven't narrowed down to specifics, but I think the work that we're doing here on Rosebud, for instance, is it's interesting because, as I said, we're a big tribe, lot of population, about 30,000 that live on our reservation, large land base, over a couple million acres of land. Still have a not a, if you know the land tenure system in our part of the country, they call it checkerboard. So we don't really manage all the land within our boundary, but we're dealing with that in terms of water resource management, things like that. So yeah, it's exciting, very challenging, very daunting for all of us who kind of know what it takes to do this kind of work. But we know that we all have a hand to play in making it successful. And I think that there's a lot of interest in what we're doing in Rosebud with these major projects now, and that how we can do that work, how what's the process, what's the methodology to do that work. So get community buy-in, community improvement. And then on top of that, obviously we're going to put the climate data in it, and working with those issues that the tribe cares about. And then obviously working with tribal council, working with the leadership. How do we communicate this work with the council so that they're on board? And then there's always something comes up. Well, then how do we mitigate those things? You know, how do we conflict resolute those things so that the project can keep going? And so, like for instance, I have to get off here in a couple minutes. I'm getting pinged by my boss saying the travel council meeting. They want me to update on my role with the climate center. So I might have to stop here, but I want you to know what we're doing, who I am. You know, I'm sure we're gonna have more conversations, Angie, and that's okay if I can drop off here in a minute or two.
Sure, yeah. Does anyone want to say any one last thing while we have them for one last minute?
Thank you. Thank you for your work.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. Love to hear more about, we always think we'd like to move all these communities and tribes and others away from just reacting, but to preparing, right? Better preparing for all of this, and preparing requires information. So I'm just trying to understand how, it'd be interesting to hear more from you about what the visibility looks like in your area. Like how much information do you have access to so that those decisions can be made up front? That's what we're trying to get to, a better situation where folks feel more informed and more prepared than they do right now. But maybe there's tribes that say we know what's wrong and we're ready to act. And so we're just trying to balance that, how much more Western science is needed versus how much more we just need to dive in and use the traditional knowledge that's available.
Okay. Well, I'll just work through you and Shasta on I know some requests in the chat. I'll definitely put you on our mailing list, if you will, and as we get ready for the NIDIS meeting in September, but also as we go forward with different things that this group may be interested in, we'll share that with you for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so
All right,
much.
nice to meet you,
Good luck
everybody.
at your next meeting.
Yeah. Well, next time we have a meeting in person in the wintertime, let's hold it in San Diego. I'm in South Dakota.
Yeah, really.
It's cold. It's
Come
cold
visit.
here. So yeah, I'll come visit you in the wintertime. All right,
Sounds
guys.
good.
Take care.
Take
Goodbye.
care. All right, guys, to dominate, you might have had questions. That was good. And so we can end it here unless anybody else has some debrief or follow-up you wanted to talk about before we close out. Public Health Alliance, do you guys already have is your tool available out in the north central part of the country yet?
We have we released a Utah HPI in October.
Okay.
So, but right now we're only in California and Utah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you may want to make sure he knows at least Utah's covered. I don't know if that's considered in his territory. I kind of think not. But all right. Well, you guys, this was a good meeting. It's nice to catch up, and I'll give you a few minutes of your life.
Thanks,
We'll
everyone.
see you in 2 months. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.